Everybody, I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 4 English lesson on word patterns. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English language arts. We're doing grade 4. And in the lessons that we are going to be focusing, okay, we're doing grade 4, right? So we're going to scroll down, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of first word patterns. So we'll get to word patterns. So our chapter is word patterns. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 4. And then the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of word patterns is word pattern analogies, and we have word pattern sentences. And that is going to be our lessons for today under our chapter of word patterns. So when it comes to word patterns, right? Words with suffixes they follow patterns, right? And remember we said a suffix is a word that we add at the end of a base word. Firstly, a base word is a word that can stand on its own. We can make sentences, create sentences, and then we add a suffix to the end of that word, and that basically creates a new word. So yeah, they're saying words with suffixes, they follow patterns. And noticing these patterns, right, they can help you to recognize the word that act the same way and it can help you to figure out their meanings. Because remember, we even said that once you have a suffix, right, and you add, let's say basically you add that suffix to your base word, it creates a new meaning. So when it comes to word patterns, which is today's lesson, then that new pattern that is being created, or the new meaning that is being created, it basically recognizes the words and it tends to act the same way, and it helps us to figure out the meanings of certain words. And if we look at an example, right, which is going to be a base word as well as a suffix that is added to that base word to create a new word, and then we're going to see the pattern that it creates. And if you look at the base word, right, our base word is happy. So here we have our word, which is happy. And if we were to add a suffix to that base word, if we add the suffix to that base word, the suffix ness, and then it becomes happiness. So it's first just happy, but then we added ness to that word, and now we have happiness. And then we have the same with cozy. Cozy is a base word, a word that can stand on its own. And then as soon as we add the suffix to the word that you add at the end of the base word, and we even follow the pattern of the previous word, so happy, happiness, then it means that we're going to follow the same pattern of cozy, coziness. So these are basically patterns that they follow. If the one suffix says "ness," we added "ness," and then it means that the next word is also going to be "ness." And then we will basically see how to figure out the meanings and how similar they are. And we said happiness is the feeling of being happy, and coziness is the feeling of being cozy. And that basically gives us an idea of how the meaning of the words are. We figured it out, and it's basically similar, especially after our suffix and the pattern that was followed. All right. So once again, when it comes to word patterns, right, then it is basically the we have our suffix, or we have basically words with suffixes that follow specific patterns based on the suffix that is added. Because when with the suffix, you can basically have similar words or different words, but with similar meaning based on the suffix that is added. And we made an example of the word happiness and coziness. It's two different words, right? Even two different base words. But as soon as the same suffix is added to a word, the meanings of the words now becomes similar. Yes, the same with coldness. Well done. Because that is also word patterns as long as the suffix is the same. Because now it means it's the feeling of being cold. Well done. The same with warmness, the feeling of being warm. All right. So, yes, we said that we have happiness, which is the feeling of being happy. We have coziness, which is the feeling of being cozy. Coldness, the feeling of being cold. Warmness, the feelings of being warm, right? These are, it basically shows how words are similar based on the suffix that is added. All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca, and we're going to notice patterns, right, that will be able to help us to recognize words that act the same way and help us figure out the meanings. All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca, and we're going to word pattern analogies. And we see when it comes to word patterns, right? We have words with suffixes, and suffixes are either letters or a specific word that you add at the end of a base word. All right. So remember when it comes to the word pattern, all right. So now we're going to complete the pattern, right? We specifically look at the suffix, right? The word that is added at the end of the base word. And then we just basically follow the patterns as is. So we have rock or rocky, we have rock, and then we have rocky. And basically, all we added, especially to our suffix, is a Y. So we just added a Y, so now it becomes rocky. Yes, so rock becomes rocky. So if we added only a Y to that specific word, knowing that we follow a pattern, we're going to add a Y to this word also, and then that becomes foamy. Because we are following a pattern. If the word, the suffix, um If they add ness to the suffix, then you need to add ness to the other word suffix also, or to the other word. So we have rocky with a Y, and then we have foamy. And with part of completing the pattern, right, we basically complete the pattern that we see the other or the first suffix that was added to a word has created. Like over here, it is rocky, meaning a Y was added. So which means that we will then add a Y to our next word, and that becomes foamy. Foam, foamy, right? And if we look at the meanings of rocky, rocky means it's having rocks or lots of rocks. And foamy, it means that it's having foam or lots of foam. It's the same like when you're either doing dishes and you put in a lot of dishwasher and now it becomes foamy. Or in the bath, you throw in a lot of bubble bath and that's foamy, right? It means having foam or having lots of it. All right. All right. So now we need to complete the pattern. And if we complete the pattern, we have Russia, right? We have Russia and we have Australia. So if you are from Russia, then it makes you Russian. So if you're from Russia, and then it makes you Russian, which means that we just added an in to that specific word, Russian. All right. So, which means that if we look at the things like the in that was followed, because now we say Russia and Russian, meaning that if you grew up in Russia, then it makes you Russian. Same with Australia. If you grew up, lived there, still live there, then we can say you are Australian. And we basically just add an in to that word. Like I'm from South Africa, which makes me South African. You are from Canada, so which makes you Canadian. So we basically just added an E, an N, sorry. And that is basically to show the feeling or the action. All right. So we basically just add an in to a specific word. All right. And we added an in, makes us Russian, Canadian, Australian, South African, right? Depends. But that is basically a suffix that is added, which makes the answer similar. We need to complete the pattern west. So we have west, and then the next word is sky. And the word that is added, or the suffix that is added to that word west, is westward. Westward. All right. And we said we have the word westward. And if we were to use that very same suffix and we add it to the word sky, then it's going to be skyward. And skyward, it basically means towards the sky. And the same with westward. Westward is like saying towards the light or the sky. All right, so basically this gives us indication that the words are similar, especially when it comes to word patterns. What the base words stay the same, but what changes is the um the suffixes that is added to a specific word in order to create the new meaning of a word. We need the next one says complete the pattern. Complete the pattern. The next one says sluggish. So we need to complete the sentence. We have slug, right? And remember, we said that whatever we do to the one, we do to the other if we are adding our specific suffixes, right? So over here, it looks like they're adding GIS or ISH, sorry. So slug. So sluggish. If we were to complete the pattern, do we say it's going to be option one, piggish, or option two, pigs? Piggish, or is it going to be pigs? And if we complete the pattern, we're going to, yes. Remember, we need to follow a pattern, right? And when we follow a pattern, let's say, for example, the first one added ish to the word, then it means that we need to also add ish to the other word. And if we were to select the complete pattern, then piggish is our correct word. Piggish. Because sluggish, piggish. All right, and we need to complete the patterns, right? We have color and we have flavor, color and flavor. Now with color, if we were to add a specific color, all right. So when it comes to color, right, if you maybe if we want to follow a specific pattern, we can add lists. Now, once you do to the one, you do to the other. So do we say colorless? Is it flavorless or is it flavored? Flavorless or flavored? Or only one of these two words. And if we were to choose, yes, we'll say flavorless, meaning that there's no flavor. The flavor is missing. Careful. We added the word full. Remember what we do to the one, we do to the other. Careful. So now we have grace. Is it graceful, option one, or graced, option two? Graceful or graced? All right. And then we have, if we have careful and we were to follow a specific pattern, then we will do the same with full, the suffix full, right? So careful, and then we have graceful. It's like saying it's full of care, it's full of grace. Yes, well done. Graceful is correct. And then we have to complete the pattern where we Alaska. If you are from Alaska, right, then it means that you're Alaskan. We basically just added an in to that specific word. Now we have Nebraska, right? Remember, we just added an in, which is the suffix. Now we have Nebraska. Is it Nebraskan or Nebraskans? Which one is correct? So if we were to follow the pattern by also doing the very same that we did to the one, if we add the suffix, which is just an N, to Nebraska, which is, and then it's going to be Nebraskan. So which means that if you're from Nebraska, you are Nebraskan, which is option one. Well done. Yes, well done. So we have the word pattern sentences also, right? Where it's like words that is added to that specific sentence that adds. Remember, we still following the patterns. We still following that specific pattern of the suffixes that are the same. Like for example, here it says you can wear fabric that is wearable. So we added able to that specific word. So we're going to add able to the next word also. So you can wear fabric that is wearable. Now it says you can wash fabrics that is it washable option one or washes option two? So washable option one or washes option two. And if we were to choose the correct option, if it's wearable, then it means that it is washable. We added also the word able or the suffix able to that word. All right. A pointless story doesn't have a point. List. We added the word list to it, which means it's list. If a pointless story doesn't have a point, then we can say an story doesn't have an end. Is it option one, an endless story, or option two, ends? Which one is correct? And if we were to choose the correct word, then we will say an endless story doesn't have an end. All right, yes. All right, so this is the end of our lesson on word patterns. Remember, we say that when it comes to word patterns, then it is we basically add a suffix to the specific word, and we basically see how the word then changes. What you do to the one, you do to the other one, also in order to see how similar these words are, and then the pattern that it specifically follows. So this is the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. And I really hope that you're going to have a good day further or good evening further. So, until next time, goodbye.